And we're live, I think.
And we're live. Okay, so this is episode 2 of Pros on Cons, which are neither professionals nor always about cons. Today, we're talking about the Nashville's Mini Maker Faire, which was this past Saturday at the Adventure Science Center. And with me, I have Party Jack, of
Hello.
course. We also have Brianna Reed, the founder of Nashville Geek Life.
Hello.
And our special guest, we have one of the people most involved in getting the Mini Maker Faire started. We have Lucas Leverett.
Hello.
We also have my cat.
All right. And we have Office Cat.
He'll make various appearances.
And your Office Cat. All right, so we're starting a little late because everybody was stuck in traffic or napping.
I was napping.
I was napping.
Yeah.
Oh, it's 50-50. We were stuck in traffic.
Yeah, I was stuck in traffic too. So the Mini Maker Faire was this Saturday. And okay, so we're going to start as we always do, and I just want to kind of go around and everybody can talk about their favorite part. So, like, I'll start with my favorite part of the Mini Maker Faire was really getting to see the hands-on workshops because they had the soldering station there, and I thought that was really cool. That was Nash Micro.
Yeah.
Brought the soldering station, and I thought that was really cool because, like, I know I'm a hands-on learner, and I could read about soldering all day, but unless I did it, it's not going to make any sense to me.
Right.
So that was really
they donated all those materials
They did.
themselves. They didn't have anybody pay for materials at the site, and I saw a lot of kids learning a new skill that they probably wouldn't have just picked up anywhere else.
Yeah, that's another thing I want to mention is that the Mini Maker Faire was free again this year. This is the second year that it's been here, and they keep it free with all the organizations and sponsors. What was your favorite part?
My favorite part, I think, is actually ties in with what you said, primarily how kid-friendly it was. There were tons of younger kids, teens, that were involved and getting their hands on something that they might not have experienced in a every setting or even in school, specifically not in school. I doubt any of them picked up anything in school except for those ones that I did meet who were involved in the robot competitions, who were from the local high schools, and I thought that was brilliant that they were brought in and got to show off their hard work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Brianna, what was your favorite part? Other than our amazing booth.
Our booth with our cards and the stuff. Well, I didn't get to experience as much as I wanted to because I was still recovering from being sick and I was very tired, and so I actually spent a lot of time at the booth. But I think I can echo what Jack said, is that there is a community issue with geek events that I hear a lot through our work with Geek Life, that there aren't really a lot of kid-friendly events going on. I would say that the Adventure Science Center is easily the most kid-friendly geek venue because, I mean, it's a children's science center, but one of the things that people will come up to me and say, like, at the table is, like, well, what kind of kid events do you have? And I really had to think really hard. So I think it's great that more events are popping up for children or just family events in general. For example, GMX is really great, like, during the day for kids maybe, but at night you don't want kids running around because there's a lot of adult programming. And so, yeah, I think the whole family aspect, I think, was pretty cool. So.
Okay. All right, and then, of course, last but not least, Lucas, what was your favorite part?
I think my favorite thing about the Maker Faire is the experience that everybody gets to have. But my personal favorite event was the race. The Power Wheels race was my favorite thing. And if I were to have not been working on the inside and attending, it probably would have still been my favorite thing. But I think the best thing about the event that it does for the community is that actual involvement. regardless of age, it's cool that it is kids, but I think everybody of every age can actually stick their head in the tent and get it and actually see and do instead of observing, instead of just consuming. You know, we spend a lot of time in geek culture creating events that are about consuming media, or listening to media creators talk about creating media. But we don't spend a lot of time tinkering together, and I think the Maker Faire is a great chance to do that.
I have to agree with that wholeheartedly.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, and then I definitely wanted to talk about the Power Wheels race. That was
cool.
That
it was
was
like
very
Mario
cool.
Kart in real life,
in real
except
life.
for there were no blue turtles. And if somebody would have thrown a plushie turtle, I would have just died right there.
That would have been great. That would have been awesome.
Yeah, it's actually kind of the Power Wheels race has been a item on mine and Chris Lee's geek list for several years, and we have tried to insert it in MTAC. I don't think we ever made an attempt to insert it in GMX. We tried to insert it in different places to see if we could get it to happen, and we couldn't ever quite get the support. The makers that make those vehicles weren't ever quite available and into the scene of anything until the Maker Faire came along, and that was totally right across home plate for those folks. And so, you know, we came into the Maker Faire planning for like 10 cars, and then it dropped back to 3 cars, and then at the end of the final prep, we ended up with 6 cars, and it was perfect. So we were really happy to finally be able to put that in front of people at one of the events that we were involved with, and we hope to see it stick around. The community of racers has now seen what we did, and it should only gain steam from there.
Let's not forget about the Dalek. The Dalek was involved at one point.
Dalek Braun.
Right. It was exterminating racers.
Lost the race horribly.
Yeah, and he's slow, but through extermination, he may have actually gained some ground and maybe come in. I don't know how that works. If you kill the other racers, I mean, Mario Kart, it's fine, so I think it's within the rules.
The continuously lapped racer. It was really fun to watch.
It was really good.
You have the Dalek, and you have the cars. And the Dalek, and cars. I think the average is like 5-1.
He was still like the community favorite, though.
Oh yeah, he always is.
Okay, so I wanted to get into the invention, or, well, not invention, because the Maker Faire is a whole nationwide thing, but this is only the second year that we've had one here in Nashville. I know that you told me that it came from a couple places, but the final, idea, I guess Matt was talking to you. So you have the idea of, hey, let's bring a Maker Faire to Nashville. What's the next step?
Well, you can do a lot of different things, but the modern way to create a Maker Faire is to license it with Make Magazine and conduct it as a official Maker Faire. So at the time when the idea was brought up to me, I had been involved with the creation of the broader scope of the Arts Cubed concept, where there would be other things woven in together and networked and such. And so it was a good time to start talking about that. And Matt Kennickson, who is the head of the Make Nashville group, he had been kicking around this Make Nashville idea, but that it would really always kind of point to a Maker Faire. And so he bounced that off of me, and I said, well, this is a good time because I'm equipped to help support it, and the community's ready for it. So we sat down and decided, okay, you got to have a venue, which is something I'm known to be good at, and my suggestion to him was, we're not going to take this the route that we would, that I've been for all these years with conventions. We're going to go a different route with it and go to the obvious place, the Science Center. And once we started comparing notes, we found out that we had 80% of the same contacts at the Science Center, and then each of us brought a couple more people at the Science Center to the table that we had kind of at our grasp to contact and get excited about it. And then we approached Chris Lee, obviously, to be involved because he's sort of the highest profile maker, crafter, prop, gizmo guy in Nashville's geek culture. So all of us kind of sat down with the Science Center to bounce the idea around, and we formed a committee that consists of those of us from the community at large and the people in the Science Center staff. And I think it's probably about 50-50, about half Science Center staff, half community people. Several folks from Arts Cube joined in, and then we've kept that same body of people involved throughout the 2 years. I think we've even added more people. So you have essentially a committee that consists of a couple of guys from MTAC and myself as an independent, and Chris as an independent, and then Matt as a representative of Make Nashville, and Ian representing Nash Micro, and of course then all the Science Center folks. And it's really been an interesting team. And once you have the team made and you know what you want to do with it, you just go to Make and you pay their license fee and you follow the rules they have, and then add your own creativity and shake and stir, and there you go.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. And then now, I think that I certainly feel that Nashville was primed for a Maker Faire.
Oh yeah.
Recently, like Nashville has always been about making things, but I think that the maker, tinkerer, inventor, entrepreneur part is huge right now. Oh, yeah. More than it has been in the past, maybe. Do you think that the timing was important?
Yeah, I mean, you've got a town that has 2 massive art festivals in Centennial Park, where when I grew up there was only one a year. You've got probably more. Well, I mean, it's kind of like saying you always find something in the last place you look. Of course, now we have more of these things than ever before. I don't know where the less of them will ever occur, but we had, over the past several years, a lot of co-working spaces, a lot of co-creation workshop spaces, lots of like small maker-friendly environments popping up. And I think that was kind of a sign that the community was going that way. And then Nashville has become one of those towns that's fiercely local. So you don't have a lot of traction for a lot of the national brands of things. We're fiercely independent beer, fiercely independent food, fiercely independent furniture, art, craft, and everything else. So we just got that cultural moment that was about right. You could have had a Maker Faire 10 years ago easily, but it would have been in a park, and there might not have even been a Make license from the Make magazine. I don't even know if there was a Make magazine in that time frame. So there are all these things that have happened, and of course pop culture. I mean, so much DIY TV, and then so much stuff with tinkering and the Mythbusters and all that kind of stuff out there that makes it kind of cool to play with things and disassemble things and repurpose things and blow things up. So I think that all of that just makes the time right for a place like Nashville. You have bigger fairs in bigger cities that arrived at this earlier than we did, because they also went through their renaissance of that sort, but earlier than we have ours. I think it's really cool to see. I love everything about what's happening in Nashville as we change and grow and expand as a city. It's an interesting thing to witness. I'm sure 20 years from now we'll all be sitting around as cynical Atlanta types, and we'll be bitching about the traffic and the stupid 440 loop and how it's always under construction and whatever. But right now,
don't we already do that right now?
Yeah, somewhat. But right now I think most people are still complaining about the fact that we even have a metro, because the people that were able to vote against having a metro are still alive. And it sounds morbid, but I think we'll move on to bigger topics once those people are either not voting anymore and not on the internet anymore, or not with us anymore and can't complain that we're a city now. We'll move past that. Our last pastures will become malls, and we'll stop complaining that we de-countryed our county. So this is a renaissance time for this city. It's really neat. I worry sometimes that it'll be impossible to exist in Nashville for some of the people in the maker community, because you need low rent, you need flexible space, and that's something that Make Nashville exists to be able to help preserve in the city landscape. And I think that's cool. Being able to say, whoa, let's not make everything here strictly residential, let's keep light industrial, or let's keep affordability and maybe this neighborhood over here could be a maker neighborhood and not part of the $2,000 a month condo trend.
Yeah.
And I believe we were talking to, I'm bad with names, but
Matt.
We were talking to Matt, and that is part of what they're working towards.
Yeah, that's Nash Micro.
Is trying to get, instead of everything being industrial or residential, they're getting levels, because right now, being one or the other, you can't have a place that's manufacturing on a small scale and it actually be completely legal.
Right.
So going to a different scale where you have levels of industry allowable makes it a lot more possible for just general folks like you and me to go, hey, I want to start doing plastic molding locally, but I can't afford to go to the industrial area of Nashville and buy a big building, because who can afford that other than really huge industry? So I think that's a good movement, and I think it's positive for our community, especially as geeks, and I think that that's going to move us towards a positive direction.
Yeah, definitely, and that's one of my favorite things about hanging out with the makers, is that not only are they doing things and making things happen and making things, but the enthusiasm involved. Yeah. They're doing what they love, and they are, advancing society to complement that, so that they can continue to do that.
Well, it's a lot like the hacker community when you think about how that works. The makers and the hackers, they're a similar mindset, where they want to take something apart, figure out how it ticks, and then make a better version of it.
Make it better, exactly, absolutely.
I think the most important part, because I was going to say the hacker community too, being a professional web developer, I'm really into that community. And a lot of what they do that's really important that the maker community has been starting to do as well is community education. Because it used to be like an issue with, like a boys like hacker club or whatever, that nobody wanted to teach anybody else. It was kind of this elitist, like, you need to go on the internet and learn it yourself, and now it's not really like that anymore. There's a Hack Nashville. If you go on meetup.com and just look up coding and development in the Nashville area, there's like 30 different groups going on with different meetup events. So community education, I feel like, has blown up a lot the past few years as well, and I think that's really kind of driving us forward as well. Like, not just the events, but just some of the community classes that people are offering. So it's pretty cool.
Geek collaboration has really blown up, I think, is the main thing that's happening.
We're playing together with
playing nicely together now.
Better toys and with shared spaces that everybody can get along in, and there's a rule set that says, hey, chill, be cool. If you can't, go somewhere else and play.
Right.
There's also a pretty big credit to be given to communication. We have a much better time sharing ideas or starting connectivity to one another. Really, this social media and magic button video conference live broadcast world that we are currently taking advantage of as we speak didn't exist 5 years ago, and enables a completely different breed of collaboration to occur. Like, you can have that idea and not have to go out there and spitball it against too many non-receivers. You can seek out like minds and resources and kind of cover the pre-game before you really get out and do. And that's a pretty unique opportunity in technology evolution, is this communication ability to just be on the same page with other people that you can look up based on what they're interested in, instead of walking up to somebody in a park one day and saying, hey, you want to see how to make this? And they just look at you like you're nuts.
All right. That's absolutely true, and we've all ran into that situation at some point in our lives as geeks, where we're looking for our own people, and how do you do that without going up to the wrong people and getting laughed at because your fandom just completely outside of their understanding.
I know this website that does that. Yeah, that's what they do. I can't remember what it's called. Bree, do you remember what that website's called?
No, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, so
drink from my water bottle innocently.
Bringing it back to the Maker Faire, I want to start at the beginning, which was the parking.
Absolutely fantastic.
We parked at the Greer Stadium, and then there was a shuttle like right there to pick us up and drive us right up to the Science Center, and that was pretty amazing.
Yeah, that was very well planned. I was happy to see that going on. The only issue, if I was going to have an issue, and it wasn't my issue, but it was an issue that I heard of from others, is that it could have been maybe publicized a little bit better that parking was there, like for people who weren't maybe as integrated in the community as we are and knew where to look,
Right, because we found it online.
That's right.
And then there were a few signs. Lucas, you said there were a few signs outside the Science Center saying that there was additional parking. But some people didn't see that.
Yeah, there aren't enough of those. And one thing that we kind of struggle with is the printing and signs, and that's why with my day job at Jive I brought a pretty broad sponsorship to the table this time, because we needed to have more resources. I had some concerns along the way about that. Just saying so on the internet theory, it's all that we can do in some cases. We won't have that in the future because the sounds will be moved. But we actually we had to be bad Nashvillians for several weeks and hope for the sounds to fail, because if they got into too many playoffs, they would need their parking. So we were all a little bit rooting for them to lose the right games so that they wouldn't be in town for the Maker Faire, or they wouldn't still be playing. So we'll feel better about ourselves next year when we're not worried about that. And we understand that parking lot will be available for the foreseeable future, so it should be a pretty cool, reliable thing. And then we can spend money on signs that we know we're actually going to need, because before it was always very last minute, like, will we have the parking? And if we don't have the parking, we don't need these 20 signs. So that's kind of cool. It'll be a lot of fun to see. Otherwise, it seems like a really carefully planned element, but it's actually really not. It's just because those shuttles are so good at what they do, because those are the people that run the shuttles that are over by the stadium and run people to work. And so Park at Nashville was a great resource because they know what they're doing. I think that there are a couple other shuttle companies in Nashville that really can just jump in and do it well. So we've got a lot of good options with that. And we keep getting more and more of that, obviously, because we keep getting more and more events. And there's just no way to have both Maker Faire and parking at the Science Center, so there has to be something.
That's fantastic. Now I know what you really want to talk about. You and Bree both. Food trucks.
Oh my God,
food
trucks.
Food trucks.
Food trucks was the best thing ever. And it had no science to it. But the Bacon Nation truck was there, and we're huge fans of the Bacon Nation truck.
That 50-50 burger is
and
like heaven.
We all ate the 50-50 burger from the Bacon Nation food truck, and that made my day.
It is really good. Now, for background, for the folks at home who don't know, the people that run the Bacon Nation truck are actually LARP friends of ours. So they're really like into the convention scene and the geek scene. So the fact that they were there, I don't know about the other food trucks, but the fact that they were there was really exciting from a geek perspective, I think. So I was like, oh, yay, our LARP friends are here.
They are actually the two people that got Jack and I and Brianna as well involved in LARP. That was actually the final straw that their LARP was the one we wanted to go to. So there's a geek tie-in to the Bacon Nation truck for us.
Yes, but that does not mean that the food is any less delicious. It is amazing. It's all really kinds of bacon, happy, good things going on.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah, they when they started their business with the truck, they came immediately, as I was still working with GMX at the time, and they came immediately and said, you know, we're going to have the truck in time. We'd like to come to GMX. And, of course, I told them, try it, and stay as long as you can before the hotel asks you to leave. I think they did. But those guys have been around for years at every convention that I was ever involved with, and every convention that was local that I went to, and they're great guys. And the nice thing about food trucks is they fit the maker bubble because they are makers. Most people make those trucks. You know, they weld them, paint them, maintain them, whatever. So it fits perfectly as the food at a maker fair. It really couldn't be more appropriate, and it was a big improvement because last year it was only Subway, and it was okay. And the Subway people are nice people, but it's Subway. Sometimes you want some variety. So we were able to get some deals made to let them feel like they had enough traction to not lose much business, but that there was so much extra business, plenty to go around for everybody. So I can see the food truck part of this growing exponentially, and it makes too much sense not to have food trucks at a maker fair.
Yeah, well, and food trucks are a big part of Nashville right now, too.
Oh, yeah. It's a growing thing, and it's been growing for quite some time, and I think that, like Lucas said, it's a maker community of its own. They're creating their own brand.
It's always an idea. It's a whole thing. You got the grilled cheesery and the bacon truck and the pie truck. Yeah, they have to think of a whole thing.
Yeah, and then their truck is always decorated with these cool logos and
wrapped. It's wrapped.
Well, yeah, they're wrapped in vinyl or they're. They had signs to it, and the girls were wearing these cool little costumes. And the outside of the truck has this big wooden plaque with their name and logo on it. And these are all things that are handmade. You're not going to just pick this up at a store and go, hey, I'm putting this on my truck. Somebody made this stuff. Yeah. And they dress up these trucks to look really cool. And I think it's definitely, like you said, part of the maker community. Definitely deserves to be called. And it is a growing part of the Nashville community. I hear all the time about people saying, hey, we have a different food truck come to our business in Nashville every week, and we love it. So I think that's a good thing, and we got to support these people. They're small business owners, and they're making their way where you can go to McDonald's and get the same thing you've had since you were a kid, sure, or you can go to this food truck and try something you might not have had before, and it's probably going to be awesome.
Yeah, I like the fact that you've got a theme to everything. Of course, most of us know that I'm a big fan of themes, so I love observing what they do to really take their theme all the way home throughout the menu and everything else. And I think that's the fun thing about the trucks, is this kind of the gimmick. You do a theme in your food truck, or you don't play ball in that world. And I think the selection that we had at the Maker Faire was kind of funny because they were all geek friendly in a way. You had the Geek Run bacon truck. You had a Music City Pie Company, which is like a complete comic book motif in all of their branding and their text and their visuals. And then the Steaming Goat, which I'd never heard of, and I thought it was something you'd look up on Urban Dictionary or something, and it turned out to be like this really whimsical, maybe it's a gag on the dude's beard that runs it or something, but they look like our people. They get out of the truck, it's like, oh, they belong here. So, it totally works out, and it's really cool that we have that segment of that group of food trucks that we have in this town appear there.
Well, what about robots? I mean, there were so many
robots.
There were. Well, we've already talked about Dalek Braun, who we see at plenty of conventions.
Oh yeah, he's chased me at TMX. So
who makes him? What is the name? Does anybody know the name of that group? I can't remember.
I don't know.
I'm not sure which group he belongs with.
Yeah.
He's everywhere.
There was
everyone.
It's kind of cool that the Doctor Who fandom has resurged in such a way that there are too many different Doctor Who people and groups that we can't necessarily know who belongs to what. There's just so much Doctor Who.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, and R2D2's everywhere.
There was the R2D2 makers. So there was like 7 of those things.
Was there 7? I think there was more like 4. But we can call it 7 if you want to.
I overestimate. Don't ever complain.
There were a bunch. I think there were about 5 or 6 at least.
Yeah, so that was really cool. We saw them at Con Nuga, I think, too. Was the first time I'd really paid attention to them.
I think the first time I saw anything from them was very likely the year I got yelled at GMX. Because apparently Jack Harkness cannot go up to R2, even though it's a different fandom. They've heard about Jack in their universe, and that's not okay.
Yeah.
So that was the first time I met the R2 makers, and that was a pretty fun little interaction there.
Well, I went to dinner with that group, with those guys and a couple other makers, and they're a lot of fun to be around. They're really funny guys. And, as Chris Lee put it when he did an Instagram or something from dinner, he said, "There's far too much smartass around this table," and I think that they're a really creative group. And I learned something over dinner that I had no idea of. That evidently, bar deodorant, like solid deodorant, will take lipstick off of droid aluminum. So that was one of the war stories that was shared.
That is important information now.
Yeah, we all need to know that.
As he put it, I have no idea what the rating of your podcast is, but as he put it, the first year he had his droid at Dragon Con, he had to clean more lipstick and boob sweat off of his dome than he'd ever seen. And evidently the lipstick comes out of the deodorant.
Fantastic.
That is good to know. We know that. That's a good one.
Yeah.
And then there was the robot battles, which I believe was the Stratford Magnet School.
I believe so.
Robots Club.
Right. I don't know who the other group was.
There was so many robots.
Because there was a lot of groups with robots, and we're not talking about just robot battles chopping up robots. That's not what we're talking. We're talking about feats of dexterity with these robots, intricate action, and that is hard to build. It's easy to build a lot easier to build a saw blade into a little box with wheels that you can control than it is to build something with an arm that you can manipulate so delicately that you can reach down and pick it up and place it in an order. Man, that's amazing stuff right
Robots
there.
Robots are amazing.
Yep.
The robots are good. The 501st was there.
501st was there. Saw our friend Julie.
Did you see Julie?
I did see Trooper Julie. She's small, and so you have to
look.
Easy
to miss.
You have to look.
Oh,
she's so tiny.
She is.
She's the tiniest stormtrooper in the galaxy. I'm pretty certain.
So we saw Julie, and
yeah.
Let's see, who else did we see? It was so many people were there. It was amazing.
It was really good, yeah.
That was the cool thing, is that there were so many people there from different, like, I don't want to say social groups, I guess organizations. You know, there was some Arts Cube people there from GMXM to MTAC, some of the Science Center people, the hacker people, the maker people, the food truck people. Like, everybody was there. That was the really cool thing about it. So I got to see all my friends.
I ran into, when I was sitting in the VIP tent, one of the original MTAC founders that I only see around once in a while at events had made his way to this event, and it's kind of interesting to see that background. And his thing is tuner and race car stuff, so he's got a maker interest in a way, but it's a little bit different spectrum. That's the nice thing about the maker thing. It has so many spectrums that it's very universal appeal.
Yeah, and that being that's my main thing. We always talk about when I go to an event. My main thing is I like the collaboration of all the different geeks. I'm the social aspect of the con. I like that this group was there and this group was there, and I got to see the 501st and Skydog from Skydog Con, and
really
GMX
like
was there.
Hands-on type stuff as well. That draws you in. You like that hands-on. Let me get here and touch it, and you show me what I'm working with and how to make this.
I do really like that, and that doesn't happen at too many events I get to go to. So that was really, really fun for me. I mean, at conventions I have a lot of panels that you can go to, but there's not very much hands-on happening at a convention.
Well,
yeah,
except for Skydog.
I feel like it's not even a convention weakness necessarily, because you just can't. Like, there's just not the kind of space and time. You know, you're compressed at a convention. You're trying to get through the dealer room. You don't really care about stopping to experience something in a room like that. You got, I mean, gaming conventions. They're built around that. Stopping for a demo game or whatever. That's a little bit different. But the typical geeky event, you really don't have something where you're supposed to spend that much time doing. So that's kind of the nice breath of fresh air that this provides. It's not just an area that you had to budget time for. It is the area.
Yeah, absolutely. The whole thing is doing something.
Oh, you're constantly
Not
seeing
just
something maybe you haven't
experiencing,
seen
but
before,
doing.
or
Yeah.
or seeing something that you might have seen before, but you're seeing it in a different way, or having it explained to you in a way that you can actually grasp, whereas you just saw it before and kind of went, that's kind of cool, but you might be not really understanding how cool it is until this guy speaks to you and brings that excitement into it, and now to do it too, and that's a great experience to bring home.
So we talked about this.
Did you see the Now robot? N-A-O or N-O? N-A-O. Now is a Japanese programmable robot that I was really excited about maybe getting one, and then I found out it cost $8,000.
I didn't get close enough to get a good look at it. That table was constantly swarmed. I kind of got a stand back look at it, but it looked really neat.
It was thanks to Now that it was swarmed, I think. But it was really cool, and you know that you don't see that everywhere. You know, and companies that represent products like that aren't just going to bring them out to just anywhere. So these are really, I mean, when you said robots earlier, that really was kind of a running theme. Like there was so much robot going on.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, when we first got there, there was a big like cardboard robot.
Oh yeah.
Giant.
You couldn't miss it.
Robots here.
Well, and of course, Chris Lee's group with the steampunk
Apparition Abolishers.
Apparition Abolishers.
You could not have a Maker Faire without Apparition Abolishers in Nashville. There's just no way.
Yeah, it doesn't happen. And their giant robot standing right in the middle of the car.
Harold, I love Harold.
Awesome. They had a great setup in their booth / tent area. They had a lot of things, and I think we got some good pictures of that. So we'll have to put those out soon so people can see what we're talking about. I think we've covered most of the big things. What do you think?
Well, I know the Origami Club was there, which again was really cool for like not just the kids, but there was some serious paper crafting going on over there that was really impressive. So in the hands-on workshops.
What were they doing with the straws? I didn't. There was always so many kids. Was it bubbles? Okay. Because there was always a lot of kids, and there was like a lot of goopy stuff, and I'm like, that's, children. I don't want to go over there with slimy kids. No, but they were having a blast. So.
Speaking of kids, I got a chance to talk to some of the Girl Scouts that were there. There was a Brownie Girl Scout troop, which was really exciting for me because I was really involved with the Girl Scouts ever since I was little and up all the way till I was a teenager. And they were actually there to earn some kind of engineering badge, I think it was, which is, I thought was really cool because one, it was a really cool event that I could go to, but two, the whole, I guess, national, even international movement to get girls into STEM jobs is kind of a thing now, and so for the Maker Faire to have that kind of venue for the girls to come out and to learn stuff and to earn that badge, I think was really, really exciting. So I was excited about that.
Very, very beginning, in the first meeting that we had to found the Maker Faire, we covered that specifically because the CEO of the Science Center is a woman, and the director of operations, who basically ran the fair on the site this time, is a female. The current, like, one of the remaining members of the committee that retired from the Science Center, one of the educators, female. So there was this strong female leadership representation from the Science Center, and then those of us that have observed over the years how if you unlock the geek space, girls will be geeks, and publicly so. So we were all on board with that, and then Chris Lee pointed out that Leia, his wife, is not going to have it any other way that to have geek girls represented at this event. So it was really cool that we kind of covered that base, and then it's just been automatic from that point forward that it would be encouraged, and we could have a unique opportunity to be a very kind of a masculine town, if you think about Nashville, where its Maker Faire champions a real flat line equality of genders in the exposure to this stuff.
Yeah, I think the Geek Girls were very well represented again with Leia and so in the Girl Scouts. That was something that I hadn't even really thought about until now.
Shame on you.
I know.
Shame on you. You were just so excited about everything else that you just...
It didn't really occur to me. I think that Geek Girls are becoming sort of the norm. I don't think it's out of the ordinary.
So maybe
for
that's
me.
a good thing. Maybe that's a good
It's
thing,
a good thing
that we
that it
no
didn't occur
longer
to me.
see the difference. It's just
think so.
normal for Geek Girls to be at an event and be accepted and blend. And maybe that's the transition we're hitting, and that's a good thing that they didn't notice.
I think so.
I think maybe it's a positive thing.
Now, one thing that was not super represented that we usually cover for events was cosplay. I did see a couple of people cosplaying. There was definitely a Tom Baker doctor there.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
That was exciting. And there was an Assassin's Creed guy.
I believe there was an Assassin's Creed, and there was a girl from some anime that I may or may not be familiar with because I've watched too much anime to... They all start blending together at some point, unless they're really pronounced, and I really just got into them. But
so is that something that, do you think that the Maker Faire should be more geared towards, or do you think we have enough cosplay events in Nashville?
Good Lord, yeah, we do.
When we talked about the Geek Girl thing, we talked about the fact that costume making is a big maker occurrence, and we wanted to be sure to try to include like textiles and like the loom. There was a loom on site, so there's an element of that that's going to be present. I've actually been thinking like, what would be a way to do costumes as an event but not do cosplay per se, because it's so easy in a geeky circle to have anything costume oriented and all of a sudden it becomes a cosplay instead of like costume. And so I've been considering like, how could we maybe have a maker costume contest where it's not dress up as a character, it's like, behold my automated suspenders, or something like that, like just things that people
what
made.
you're looking at is judging the building aspect of costuming, more so than the actual how much can you look like this particular character. So if you can make a preacher gun from Doctor Who and it's 6 foot long looking massive weapon and it lights up and makes boom boom noises, that's going to be pretty cool compared to somebody who just comes out with a cool shirt and some suspenders.
But again, I feel like there's so many costuming events already.
Well, I can see what you're saying, but their aspect to cosplay.
It'd be hard. It might be hard to spin.
So, I mean, if you made an Iron Man suit, that's definitely a maker role. So
nobody does a real prop or built item focus in any of these arenas so far. Not even Dragon Con, oddly enough. You'd think there'd be a prop contest or something, but
you need to have Rick Prince out. So we needed to have Rick Prince out. That would be really awesome.
Yeah,
I like his stuff a lot.
Yeah, he's got a whole body of amazing stuff in his repertoire, and it's pretty kick-ass. And that's the kind of thing where you can have legit judging of these kinds of things. It's almost like a state fair for nerds. You could put it all out in the tent and be like, here it is, and there's the blue ribbon. And it's
Actually,
probably way more interesting than any other such occurrence that we've seen.
Yeah. Yeah.
all right. So, what things did you not like about?
You know what? I don't know, because even the weather was fantastic for the Maker Faire. It looked like it was going to rain all day, but it never actually rained.
Right, and it wasn't muggy or hot. It was perfectly
perfect. So
comfortable.
even the weather thought it was a good time for Maker Faire.
I think that's
It's a
true.
little chilly.
True. Wearing shorts, that's your fault.
Right.
Chilly.
And I still managed to get a sunburn.
I did too.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not the only one. Yeah.
It's so easy to forget that there's still a sun up there.
What's the sun? I don't ever go outside.
But on the bright side, Lucas, you were not wearing your kilt, so that worked out well. That would have been
It
chilly.
would have been a lot colder.
I mean,
I'm
that's
almost
only a bright
to the
spot for you. But there you
I'm
go.
almost to the point where I'll be comfortable enough with the Maker Faire next year to go ahead and wear the kilt without feeling like I'm freaking out the Science Center staff.
They might be used to you enough by then.
I'll ease them into it. I'll wear it to meetings.
Yep. I'm trying to think what else. There were so many things that were just really well done.
I was really impressed with a lot of smart decision making when it came to logistics of how things were set up, what was there, what wasn't there, and real good use of the space they had.
Yeah.
But as far as downside, I really didn't have any negative experiences.
I didn't get to sit in the full-size Falcon. That's the downside. I'm still upset that I did not make it to sit in the Falcon, the Millennium Falcon cockpit.
That's because you were a princess and you wouldn't wait in line.
I'm not.
Well, you did get to sit on the nice cushy wicker furniture in the VIP tent.
I got to sit in the VIP tent, which was amazing. Much more comfortable than the Millennium Falcon, I'm sure.
Well, yeah, because that was built functionality, of course.
That's what we need, is the hybrid lawn furniture and Millennium Falcon experience.
The lazy Millennium Falcon.
Lazy Millennium
Well, that
Falcon.
would just be that RV from Spaceballs, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Let's go ahead and text Chrisley now. We need a lazy version, because you totally weren't busy enough with the first version.
Spaceballs, Chrisley, can you go ahead and hook that up? I'm sure you can do it.
Brianna, was there?
Once Chris gets past all the Star Wars stuff, he should make a replica of the Winnebago and get through the Dragon Con parade. And
This has to happen.
He's
We're
gonna
talking him
murder
into it.
us.
hanging down to the Maker Faire banner on the wing.
Brianna, was there a part that you didn't like? Was there a con to this event?
I was sick. That sucked.
She was sick and she was tired, and I think she fell asleep at our table. To be
I
honest with
literally
you.
started to fall asleep. A shout out goes to Mr. Mac from the Nerdville podcast, who was keeping me awake. And finally, around 4 o'clock, I was like, I cannot do this anymore, so I packed up the booth and left. But no, it's unfortunate that I was sick, because I didn't get to actually get hands-on with anything, because I didn't want to spread my germs. Especially with so many kids hanging around, because I didn't know if I was contagious or not. I had a cold for like 4 days, and it was terrible. But I do want to comment on the fact that the mayor was there.
That's right.
He was also at GMX last year, so to have him more actively involved, and I guess in the geek culture events, I think is really exciting for Nashville, because that means geek culture is being taken more seriously. I mean, when the mayor shows up, you kind of can't top that, I feel like.
Yeah, when you consider that at the 5th MTAC, I had to like twist arms to get a welcome letter out of the mayor's office that was written by some intern, and that was like 05, and here we are 2014, and now 2 of the geeky events that I've been able to have the pleasure to be involved with have had actual in-person mayor appearances, mostly credited to the fact that they have offices within the mayor's office for this stuff. The Office of Innovation is a pretty cool thing to have added, and it goes right over the heads of probably 75% of Nashville citizens that don't understand why those kinds of things exist. And when you're talking about like why is our money spent the way it is, or why do property value or property taxes get increased by 50 cents a month, whatever it is, like those tiny little contributions by every citizen build these really wonderful departments that are supporting really wonderful stuff. And it's pretty satisfying to see that the things that we've all worked toward from a civic standpoint end up paying back to our geek community.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And the only reason I knew who the mayor was from GMX, from the speaker series.
That's true.
And he swung by, this moth is trying to eat me.
Yeah, it's Mothra. Oh, God.
He swung by the bacon truck and bought a bacon t-shirt.
He did buy a bacon t-shirt.
Awesome.
Oh, that was nice of him.
That was exciting for Bacon Boys.
So our mayor does like bacon.
Who doesn't?
Which
He is
means
not a robot.
He is not a robot or an alien.
Well, that offsets
Probably.
his heavy interest in fitness and walking and biking. That's why he's so fit and mobile, maybe, because he has a secret passion for bacon.
I think he's secretly like a comic book nerd, because I will never forget the photo opportunity that he had with Stan Lee last year. Like he just looked like so excited. I mean, I know like a lot of people who at least vaguely know about comic books know about Stan Lee, but I'm just like, does he have like a whole collection like in his closet somewhere? Like I want to ask him this.
Downstairs.
He might. That's funny.
His vault has 101 written on it. It's great.
That should be our next article. Is the mayor secretly a huge nerd and he's just hiding it? He's a closet nerd.
You should go around and find all the circumstantial evidence that you can and put it in the article.
Oh man.
All right, and that is actually a really good segue, talking about fitness and walking, to close this out, because our next Pros on Cons event that we're going to cover is going to be the Zombie Walk downtown on August 11th. October 11th, not August. That's already over. You didn't miss it. It's okay.
It's late.
We're going to go back in time.
Yes, find your TARDIS, and then
Or
go
DeLorean.
to the Zombie Walk. Or DeLorean. Apparently, somebody saw a DeLorean during the Mini Maker Faire. And it wasn't even at the Mini Maker Faire. This person was like traveling home from the Mini Maker Faire and was like, apparently there's a DeLorean in Nashville for no reason. Driving around like it's 1980, and that happens all the time.
Which means
some of them do still run and haven't been turned into prop cars. So
yeah. So yeah, the Zombie Walk is going to be our next event that we're going to cover, which is the Arts Cubed event.
Get your blood and gore and prosthetics and all your lovely, disgusting makeups ready.
People go all out for that thing.
Oh yes. Get your slimy fetuses to hang from your stomach, or whatever you're gonna do.
Those are so gross. Every single year, there's always one person that has like the dead baby hanging from their stomach. It's so wrong, so wrong. But that said, don't forget to bring food, because it's also a Second Harvest charity
Second Harvest food bank. Yeah, bring non-perishable canned goods. They always gather so much, like over a ton of food.
It's a good thing for the community, and it comes at a good time, because coming into the holidays, there are a lot of people that need that help, and they might be right next door to you, and you would never know it. So, if you can give, definitely give.
Absolutely.
Also, to help out those that are in the event management capacity, speaking from having done that job twice, clean up after yourselves. If you go to the Zombie Walk, please don't trash the city and don't trash the landscape and streets, and try to keep it tidy. And if you make a blood mess, maybe try to clean it up before you leave the organizing spot and everything. So it helps out everyone.
Rotten flesh and body parts that fall off. That's just
right.
nice.
If you live in the area, you might want to pick it up and save it for later. Make it out of something. And I'll tell you a good trick for something like this, just from my own personal experience. If you if the weather is permitting and works well, use gelatin prosthetics. They are edible and toxic, biodegradable, and if you do, for some reason, lose that appendage or body part, the animals can eat it and not die. So,
good tip.
There you go.
That's a good tip. All right. Okay, well, I think we're coming up on time, so that was the episode kind of about the Mini Maker Faire. We definitely geeked out about the Mini Maker Faire quite a bit, and then we got off topic, like we do. So I want to thank Brianna for joining us, as always, with her beautiful green hair, and Lucas Leverett. Thanks so much for the interview and for just coming on and talking to us. We don't see much of you around anymore, so that's good.
It's not good that we don't see you. It's just good
That's
that
not
we
the
did
good
get
part.
to see you.
Phrasing, Marjorie.
Yeah.
She'll figure it out.
Well, I see you. I see you because we're friends. The community, we don't see you too much. But it's been very nice to see you involved in the Mini Maker Faire. I'm really glad that you helped to bring that to Nashville.
Well, if you don't see me enough, you're not coming to the Science Center enough.
That's the problem.
Go to those way late play dates and join the Young Professionals group and all these other things, because I've put a lot of time in there lately, and it's been a lot of fun. They're great people to work with.
Yes, and we always have fun at the way late play dates,
Yes.
and we always see you there too. All right, so again, this has been Pros and Cons with Lucas Leverett, Brianna Reed of Nashville Geek Life, Party Jack, and myself, Nashville Geek Girl. And thanks for watching. We'll see you again after the zombie walk, maybe before. I might be working on an interview with that too, but it's a secret. Spoilers. Shh. And that's that. So, bye.
Bye-bye.
And we are not live anymore.